They say the brain forgets what the heart can't handle. For 7 years, Xiao Chen was a ghost. Now, he's the coldest CEO in the city, a man who doesn't remember his old friends, his old home, or even his own music. But when he walked into my bookstore, soaked from the rain, he didn't ask for a book. He looked at me with eyes that were terrifyingly blank, until he spoke the only word he hadn't deleted from his memory. Xiao Chen. Lin Yan. Why is your name the only thing I can still hear? This is the story of a man who lost his world, but kept one name. This is the CEO who forgot everything, except me. The scent of rain and old paper always filled the second chance bookstore, but tonight it felt heavier, electric. Lin Yan didn't look up when the bell chimed. He was used to the late-night wanderers seeking shelter from the soul downpour. He kept his head down, meticulously restoring the spine of a 19th-century poetry collection. His fingers, stained with ink and smelling of glue, were steady, until a shadow fell across his workbench. I was told you could fix things that are supposedly beyond repair. The voice was low, like a cello played in a small room. Lin Yan's breath hitched. He looked up into eyes he hadn't seen in 7 years. Eyes that once looked at him with adoration, then with cold, shattering silence. Standing there, soaked to the bone in a tailored suit that cost more than the entire bookstore, was Xiao Chen, the boy who had disappeared the night before their college graduation. The man who was now the city's most ruthless tech mogul. Some things are meant to stay broken, Mr. Xiao, Lin Yan said, his voice a jagged edge of its former warmth. Xiao Chen didn't flinch. Instead, he placed a small, water-damaged notebook on the counter. It was bound in fraying blue silk. Lin Yan's heart stopped. He knew that notebook. He had bought it for Chun for their first anniversary. It was supposed to be filled with the songs Chun promised to write for him. This survived a fire, a move across the ocean, and tonight's storm. Chun whispered, stepping closer until the scent of expensive cologne mingled with the damp earth. I've spent 7 years trying to find the words to fill the gaps I left behind. I can't finish it if the pages are stuck together. Lin Yan reached out, his fingers brushing Chen's cold, trembling hand as he took the book. The contact felt like a spark in a dark room. Why now? Lin Yan asked, his gaze searching Chen's face for the lie he expected to find. Because Chen stepped into the light of the desk lamp, revealing the exhaustion and the raw hope behind his polished exterior. I realized that the only person who can read my handwriting is the person who taught me how to feel the music in the first place. Outside, the thunder rolled, but inside, the silence was louder. Lin Yan looked at the silk-bound book, and then at the man who had never truly left his thoughts. He opened the first page. It wasn't a song. It was a date. Tomorrow. And beneath it, a single sentence. I'm coming home to find you. I'm not the same person, Chen, Lin Yan said, though he didn't pull his hand away. I know, Chen replied, a ghost of a smile touching his lips. I'm counting on it. I want to meet the man you became while I was busy being a fool. The silence in the shop stretched thin, pulled taut by the years of unsaid words between them. Lin Yan finally looked down at the silk-bound notebook, his thumb tracing the frayed edges. The spine is cracked, Lin Yan whispered, his voice steadier than his heart. If I open this too quickly, the binding will snap. It needs time. It needs to be handled with care. Xiao Chen didn't move. He stood in the dim light of the desk lamp, rain still dripping from the hem of his coat, pooling on the hardwood floor. I have nothing but time, Yan. I've spent 7 years running. I'm tired of moving. Lin Yan stood up, the stool scraping softly against the floor. He walked to the back of the shop, returning with a clean, dry towel. Without a word, he draped it over Chen's shoulders. The proximity was dangerous. He could feel the radiating chill from Chen's damp clothes and the heat of his gaze. Sit, Lin Yan commanded gently, pointing to the velvet armchair in the corner, the one he usually used for reading on slow Sunday afternoons. Chen obeyed, his usual commanding presence softening into something vulnerable. As he sat, a small, silver charm slipped from his pocket and clattered onto the floor. Lin Yan picked it up. It was a simple, tarnished plectrum with a hole drilled through it, the one Chen used to wear around his neck during their busking days. You kept this? Lin Yan asked, looking at the piece of metal in his palm. It's the only thing that still makes a sound when I'm alone, Chen admitted, his voice cracking. I stopped playing the day I left. I thought if I didn't make music, I wouldn't have to feel the lyrics I wrote for you. Lin Yan walked over to the workbench and picked up a specialized bone folder. He began the delicate process of separating the damp pages of the notebook. You were always dramatic, Xiao Chen. You didn't have to stop the music. You just had to stop lying to yourself. I was a coward, Chen said, his head leaning back against the velvet. My father offered me the company on the condition that I cleaned up my life. I thought I could build a kingdom and then come back for you. I didn't realize that by the time I built the walls, I'd be trapped inside them. Lin Yan stopped his work. He turned around, the light catching the gold in his glasses. And now, the walls are still there, Chen. You're the CEO of a tech giant. I'm a man who fixes old books in a shop that smells like dust. Chen stood up, the towel sliding off his shoulders. He crossed the small space in 2 strides, stopping just inches from Lin Yan. The air between them hummed. Then let me be a patron of the arts, Chen whispered, leaning down until their foreheads almost touched. Let me spend the rest of my life watching you fix things. Starting with me. Lin Yan looked at the notebook, then at the man who had broken his heart, and finally at the ink-stained hands that had the power to put it back together. He didn't pull away. It's a long process, Chen. Lin Yan breathed, his hand finally reaching up to brush a damp strand of hair from Chen's forehead. And I charge a very high price for my time. Name it, Chen said, his eyes darkening with a mixture of relief and longing. Start by telling me the truth, Lin Yan said. What was the song you were going to write on the last page? Chen reached out, his hand covering Lin Yan's on the workbench. It wasn't a song, Yan. It was a promise. Turn to the very back. Lin Yan flipped the wet, heavy pages to the final leaf. There, in ink that had bled but remained legible, were 4 words. I'll wait for you. Lin Yan stared at the words until they blurred. The ink had bled into the fibers of the paper, much like the memory of Chen had bled into every year of his life. You're 7 years late for that promise, Lin Yan said, though his hand remained beneath Chen's. Chen leaned in, his voice dropping to a vulnerable vibration. Then let me spend the next 70 years making up for the delay. I don't want a kingdom anymore, Yan. I just want a seat in this shop. The rain hammered harder against the storefront window, blurring the streetlights into glowing orbs of amber and blue. Inside, the air grew thick. Chen's gaze dropped to Lin Yan's lips, a silent question hanging between them. For a second, the CEO, the tycoon, the man who commanded boardrooms, looked like the terrified 20-year-old boy who had walked away in the middle of a storm just like this one. Lin Yan didn't pull away. Instead, he slowly turned his hand over, interlacing his ink-stained fingers with Chen's clean, pale ones. The shop closes at midnight, Lin Yan whispered, and it's 5 minutes to 12. Chen took the hint. He didn't close the distance with the aggression of a man used to getting his way. He did it with the reverence of someone approaching a shrine. When their lips finally met, it wasn't like the movies. It was desperate, salty with leftover rain, and tasted of years of suppressed longing. Lin Yan gasped into the kiss, his eyes fluttering shut as the familiar warmth of Chen flooded his senses. The second chance bookstore finally lived up to its name. Breaking away just an inch, Chen rested his cheek against Lin Yan's. I'm staying at the hotel across the street. Come with me? Just to talk. No more walls. No more company secrets. Lin Yan looked at the half-restored notebook on his desk. I have to finish dry. ING these pages. Chen. If I leave them now, they'll mold. Chen let out a short, breathless laugh. The first real sound of joy Lin Yan had heard from him in nearly a decade. Of course. The books first. Always the books. Chen reached in his coat and pulled out a sleek, black fountain pen. He laid it next to the silk notebook. Keep it. It's the pen I used to sign the papers that made me a success. I want you to use it to write the ending of our story. As Chen walked toward the door, the bell chimed again, cutting through the quiet. He paused at the threshold, looking back over his shoulder. See you tomorrow morning, Yan. I'll bring the coffee. Black, 2 sugars, right? Lin Yan watched him disappear into the rain, a ghost of a smile finally touching his face. He remembered he murmured to the empty shop. He picked up the black fountain pen. It was heavy, balanced, and perfectly crafted. He turned to the very last page of the notebook, beneath the promise Chun had written years ago, and pressed the nib to the paper. In neat, steady calligraphy, he wrote, "Welcome home."